So, Michael, as you have been made aware, Kingsman 3 is not going to be released until next year, which means we're not going to do Kingsman 1 and 2 this year. So...
Yeah, so we have that spot, Kingsman free.
Yes, we are. Very good. It is free. So, what movie are we going to do? And it turns out that I have found the perfect movie to do on that day.
I think I know what it is.
What is it?
Is it Lakeisha?
It is not Lakeisha.
Oh, okay, I thought it might be, because you've been talking about that for a while. So is it like a Mimi film?
It is not a Mimi film. Okay, so...
Is it a good film?
Yeah, well, it depends.
Do I like it?
I don't know. Well, let me just give you a clue first, because, it could be a whole bunch of films.
There are a few.
Yeah, there are a few out there. It is a film. Well, it's actually 2 films, so that's a bit of a get.
Despicable Me.
No. That came out in 2000 and 2003, and we're doing them because there is a movie coming out a week beforehand. The movie's coming out on the 15th of November. It's a reboot.
Hellboy. No.
No.
2000 and 2003. Okay, what's the genre?
The genre is kick-ass women doing kick-ass things.
Kick-ass women doing kick-ass things. Charlie's Angels.
Yes, well done. Charlie's Angels.
I hadn't even heard there was a reboot. Yeah, okay, yeah, Charlie's Angels, great. Love it. Good morning, Charlie.
Yeah, they are literally rebooting everything. So this is a reboot of a reboot.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, this is reset. No, that doesn't really work. Anyway, let's just get into South Park.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films from the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke. And this week we are looking at South Park, Bigger, Longer and Uncut. I'm guessing because it's the anniversary.
Yes,
the 20-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about South Park?
Sure thing, Michael. So, South Park, Bigger, Longer and Uncut is a 1999 American adult animated musical comedy film based on the Comedy Central animated television series South Park. Wow, who knew, eh? As you mentioned, it is the 20th anniversary of this movie. The film was directed by series creator Trey Parker and stars the regular television cast of Trey Parker, Matt Stone, Mary Kay Bergman and Isaac Hayes, with George Clooney, Eric Idle and Mike Judge in supporting roles. The screenplay was also written...
Hold on. Are you sure that's not Eric Idle?
But what did I say?
You said Eric Idle.
I did, didn't I? No.
Yeah. You always... You know what, Luke? You have this problem with, names. You always read them phonetically.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's just because I don't want to mess up, I take the safest option.
Well, you know what, Luke? I mean, I'm not really in a position to criticise names, lest we forget the whole Tom Cruise incident.
Yes. So the screenplay was written by Parker, Stone and Pam Brady. So, yeah, that's it, basically. It stars all those people. It was released on June 30th, 1999. So, like we said, just over 20 years ago.
99?
And can you tell me what the budget is, Michael?
I don't know. I mean, they've got to be really cheap. I don't know, 5-6 million.
21 million.
21 million, okay. Well done. I guess all those explosions were quite expensive.
And George Clooney.
And George, I really, if I was thinking cast, I would have probably... I was thinking, because obviously I'm sure the show doesn't take that much to animate, although Family Guy apparently takes $1 million an episode to animate, and their animation's terrible. So
anyway, how much did it make at the box office then?
A lot. I don't know, not that much. 45 million. 145 million.
83.
Oh, that's so annoying, because, you heard where I was about to start. At least, the good thing about me, kind of cycling through a lot of options is people can at least go, oh, he started off in the right place when he was about to say 180. Anyway.
By the way, this movie was the highest grossing R-rated animated film of all time until it was surpassed in 2016. Can you guess which movie surpassed it?
Animated, R-rated. Why am I being so stupid? Animated film.
Stars Seth Rogen.
Oh, Sausage Party.
Sausage Party, there we go. Yes, that beat it in 2016. So, Michael, did you like South Park, Bigger, Longer and Uncut?
To be honest, Luke, my opinion on this film was pretty much the same as my opinion on South Park the show, which is like it's okay. I mean, it's not hilarious or like fantastically insightful, but it's also not terrible. Did you like it?
Yeah, I guess that's a good sum up of South Park and this movie. I would say I found it a bit funnier than not terribly funny or whatever you said.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll get into the humor, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't laughing as hard as I was at a classic like Daddy's Home 2.
No, I mean, but that's an unfair expectation.
Yeah,
really,
that's true. Yeah.
So, how many nitpicks have you got?
I've got 2.
I've got 1.
All right. Okay, so you get to go first.
I get to go first. Yay! So, my one nitpick is at the start of the movie when the kids going to see Terrence and Philip. Why are there so many adults in that movie theatre? Like, presumably it's a Sunday morning, obviously, and apparently everyone goes to see Terrence and Philip, or everyone in South Park just walks into a movie theatre and doesn't have a clue on what they're watching.
Just because they got to maybe. Well, we don't know the marketing campaign. Maybe the marketing campaign was actually, saying, "Oh, you got to be there opening night. It's going to be the most fantastic, artsy." Exploration of the South ever put to film, and all the adults were going, "Oh, that looks very good then." And little did they know.
It's a bit like, well, not really like the example you gave, but a bit like A Million Ways to Die in the West. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, it's a Western, and it's actually just a bunch of, jokes by Seth MacFarlane involving his dick and shit and sex and all of that. Which, it's not exactly classic Western stuff, is it?
No. You're right. So my first nitpick actually was very related, which is I said, how is it the top box office film, top of the box office, if all the adults were leaving for the first screening? Because they say, like, Terrence and Philip was the top film at the box office this week. And I'm thinking about, like, almost the entire cinema left for the opening screening. Doesn't seem like it's going to do that well, just off a bunch of kids being able to trick homeless people into being their guardians.
Well, there's a lot of homeless people in America, Michael.
That's true. Maybe that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
And number 2, why didn't Kenny wish for things to go back how they were before he died? He's like, he's not just like, he's like, I wanted to go back to how it was before the war. I just think, there's like a couple of days difference between him dying and the war. Does anything really get lost if he just says, can I go back to before I died?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he knows that he's going to get into heaven if he does this and wants to get into heaven.
Oh, yeah, so it's like a test. I was going to say maybe he knows that he's going to die in the next episode anyway.
All right, I see. Yeah,
but,
there's no point.
Yeah. Anyway, so those are nitpicks. And now we need to move into the plot. So why don't you tell us the plot, Luke?
Sure thing. I haven't actually done that yet, have I?
No.
Which is good. We're meant to do it at this point. So, the plot of South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. I'm just trying to find it here. Okay, here we go. So, the plot follows 4 boys, Stan Marsh, Kyle Proflowski, Eric Cartman, and Kenny McCormick, as they sneak into an R-rated film featuring Canadian actors Terrence and Philip, and begin cursing incessantly. Eventually, their mothers pressure the United States to wage war against Canada. I like that eventually, like just a massive step in between. To wage war against Canada for allegedly corrupting their children, giving Cartman, Stan, and Kyle no choice but to unite the other children to fight their own parents, put both America and Canada back into control, and rescue Terrence and Philip themselves, while Kenny tries to stop a prophecy when Satan and Saddam Hussein conquer the world. So, yeah, there's a lot going on there, and particularly the last bit is just, okay, this is a movie about censorship, and then all of a sudden Saddam Hussein and Satan are involved. Which is a bit crazy, but yeah, I think it does operate like a TV show, unsurprisingly, because this obviously is a TV show first and foremost, South Park. You've got the A story, which is about the parents trying to stop Terrence and Philip and execute Terrence and Philip and wage war on Canada. Then you got a B story with Stan and his love interest, Wendy, as he tries to find the clitoris to try and make sure that she likes him. And then you got the C story, which is looking Satan and Saddam Hussein as well, which is a proper wildcard, as Kenny obviously dies, gets put into hell, and it basically sees what's going on in Satan and Saddam Hussein's relationship as well. So there you are.
Yes.
That is the structure of the plot.
Yes, I think the problem with talking about the plot is you might say that the plot is somewhat absurdist. Would you agree with that characterization, Luke?
Yes, it is absurdist. Like every South Park episode.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, like, you can't really talk about the plot in the way you might talk about the plot to, Alien, where there's, like, a very simple series of events that happen and everything pretty much makes sense. No, in this, it's like, you've got a war starting over a TV show that some people find offensive, and you can't really talk about that the way you might talk about another. Because the thing is, with, like, another film, you might say, oh, the plot progression was very weird. Oh, this was awfully convenient. Yeah, like that. But obviously with this, I mean, the criticisms you would normally make of a plot don't really work because this film doesn't really hold itself to the standards of a conventional plot.
Yeah, like you said, it's absurdist. It's just like, we're just going to go off in this direction because this is the point we're trying to make, and we're not going to be that smart about it. We're just going to do it, and that's part of the humor in it. Obviously, it's part of the reason why it's funny. The fact that there would be a war between Canada and America because of fucking Terrence and Phillip film. Yeah, that's the whole point. So yeah, you're right. We can't criticize it in a normal way. But you know what? We're going to do our damn best, Michael, to try and talk about this movie. And thankfully, there are some themes that we can discuss.
There are some themes, yes. Most significantly, of course, this it's a bit of a meta plot, you might say, because, of course, this Terrence and Phillip show... I mean, there's a joke that Cartman has where he says, when they go to see a Terrence and Phillip show, it's like, the animation is really crappy. That's not what he sounds like. I made him sound kind of, But he says, the animation is really crappy. There we go. Yeah, that's my brilliant impression of him. Screw you guys, I'm going home. And obviously, that's a very clever, no, not clever, but obvious wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the audience of like, hey, South Park also has crappy animation. Therefore, one that makes the conclusion, Terrence and Phillip is representative of South Park.
Yes.
So
it's as meta as Jurassic World.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, Jurassic World. Which I guess is not really a theme in itself, but I mean, it pretty clearly establishes that like this film is going to be about South Park in some sense, and obviously that's made sense with or manifests itself with the heavy focus on swearing and inappropriate language in something that's targeted towards children, which I think is fair. It's fair to say that's probably something which South Park has going for. I mean, I think when I was a kid, I knew about South Park. I think I'd probably even watched an episode of South Park when I was like, I don't know how old they're supposed to be in the South Park show. Actually, I don't know.
Well, they're supposed to be, I think, about 10.
Yeah, I think I probably had watched an episode of South Park when I was 10. And to be honest, I didn't find it to be. I wasn't like, wow, this is incredible. They're swearing loads. But, I can imagine that, the idea of little kids watching South Park, because it is presented as kind of like a fun little animated show about kids. I mean, stylistically, there's nothing to immediately distinguish it from a regular animated children's TV show. It would probably bothered people when they were like, hey, let's make a film. Let's make our film be about another show just like that. And then we can...
Well, obviously, Terrence and Phillip... Yeah, Terrence and Phillip already exists in South Park.
Yes, I did know that, yeah.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. So it's an easy thing to do. And so, you're right. It is... Terrence and Phillip is basically South Park. And that allows them to... So here's the thing. They decided, obviously, it's a South Park movie. And I think Trey Parker and Matt Stone, maybe they were like, what can we do it on? What can we do a movie on? Because the thing is, they do episodes every week. They need a big topic. They need a big sort of thing that they can do a movie on. That makes the movie justified. So therefore, they go down the route of basically criticizing all the people who criticize their show for being, I guess, harmful to children. So here's the thing. I got a quote, or not a quote. I looked at Wikipedia and to try and understand why they made this the steam about South Park is so dangerous, or this crude cartoon is so dangerous, and made the criticism of South Park into a whole movie. And the Parents Television Council founder, L. Brent Bozell III, what a name, and Action for Children's Television founder, Peggy Charon, have both condemned the show. This is just talking about South Park in general, with the latter claiming it is dangerous to democracy. So it is understandable that, I guess, they would try and make a movie mocking parents who are outraged about South Park and mocking the moral majority, as they were called in America, or the moral panic about South Park. That was a staple of culture in the 1990s in America. Let's not forget when The Simpsons came out in the early 90s, there were parents who were up in arms about The Simpsons as well.
No, too bloody right.
Yeah, again, it's crazy how much things have moved on in so little time. But yeah, it was certainly the case that people were scared that kids will watch these shows and then become bad people. That in the song, what's the guy called, the school counsellor?
Oh, Mr. Garrison's the teacher, isn't he?
Puppet guy, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's...
well, everyone knows. He just goes, okay.
Yeah, whatever. PC Prince... Oh, no, that's a different thing. Okay. Mr. Mackey.
Mr. Mackey, that's it, yeah, Mr. Mackey. So in the song by Mr. Mackey, one of the lyrics is, kids will swear... Oh, no, sorry, that's not one of the lyrics. One of the lyrics is, it will lead you to be giving out handjobs for crack on the street, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So obviously mocking the fact that, this... Parents look at their kids saying these swear words and think, oh, what has happened to my little Tommy? Or what has happened to my little Jimmy? Mainly boys, I'm guessing.
It makes you just sometimes think that these ideas of nightmares for white parents is a child with dyed hair who likes earrings.
Yeah, and of course...
That's from Eminem.
I know. Eminem was also... became really popular around this time, and kids had the same...
Eminem references South Park in some of his songs.
Same kind of audience, yeah.
Starting shit like some 26-year-old Eric Cartman, something like that.
Yeah, no, again, parents were outraged over Eminem. Parents outraged over MTV. I remember...
MTV, can't wait till Kim sees me. Now is it worth it? Look at my life. How is it perfect?
Okay, we get it, Michael. You're cool. South Park.
Yeah. I know Eminem. That's really cool. Hey, get this.
Eminem, yeah.
I'm a white middle class person who likes Eminem. What?
Yeah, it was, I think, Tripper Gore, is that the name of Al Gore's wife? I think. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
I think she was the one who said there should be possible curbs on the First Amendment because of Eminem, which is just crazy to think about. Just a democratic politician, in the centre of American life, not an extremist at that time, is saying, guess what, guys? We should maybe curb the First Amendment because of Eminem. It's just crazy how things were back then. And obviously, I think what it does make this movie seem, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, it does make it seem kind of dated, because this whole moral majority and parents, going after things that are considered, harmful to their kids, it does seem incredibly... in the past, incredibly dated, like I said. It is understandable when you got people saying, your show is a danger to democracy, that you do a movie mocking these people. But yeah, nowadays, fucking Zoomers, that's Generation Z, by the way.
They're too busy shooting up schools.
They wake up in the morning and watch South Park for breakfast, I don't know if that analogy works, but
it does. It definitely does.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you get what I'm saying. It's South Park to them is nothing. They've got the internet.
Yeah, the real subversive content is in 2019 Rest in Peace Vine compilation.
Yes. You've got people that literally watching videos, obviously the famous Logan Paul example of somebody hanging themselves. and they just treat it like it's another day. That's the thing, that video, although it got a lot of controversy, it got a bunch of likes, Like, the people or the kids, I assume he watched his videos. They didn't even care about it.
Well, whenever I'm watching my daily Logan Paul fix, I always like before watching.
Oh yeah, of course, you've got it. So that's just things have moved on so much since then, and again, it does make it seem like, oh, this is definitely a movie that came out in the 1990s. But I can understand it. I don't know. Does the fact that the message, or the mocking rather, of the moral panicking parents, does that make it seem like worse? The fact that it's dated or not?
See, I don't know. I mean, in a way, like, no. Having said that, I think one of the issues, in a way, is that the focus has shifted a lot in terms of just shifted. I realised that there was a past tense verb in terms of like the focus of moral outrage in a way that I think has created a lot of complications, because obviously
what are parents outraged at now in terms of their kids?
Well, I guess that's the thing. It's not really parents nowadays who are outraged. I think so. In that sense, obviously, yeah, parents don't really care anymore. Obviously, the thing is, there are outrages nowadays, but the outrages nowadays are based on woke things like not being racist and stuff like that. So yeah, so like today, the kind of like free speech shtick is a lot more. It's not just that it's less relevant now. It's also that a lot of the kind of free speech things are much less sympathetic now, because nowadays it's like free speech is, I want to be able to say that all Jews should die.
Yeah, I mean, that what you're talking about there is a different outrage. I mean, that's the thing. Throughout, my life, I guess, every single year there's been different outrages, and eventually people get pissed off and about stuff, and then things move on. And now there's a whole outrage about cancel culture and free speech, and every Netflix comedy show is called like Triggered or Sticks and Stones to show how brave these comedians are, and edgy, yeah. And so that's the latest thing, and that'll go in a couple of years. And if there was a cartoon that came out today mocking that outrage, and in 20 years it would look dated. Like this, that's what happens. And so yeah, I guess. Well, the point you made is, if you're mocking outrage, then obviously at the end of the day there will be a time when it is dated, because people move on. There are other things to get mad about. There's always something else that causes outrage. So there you are.
You're right, Luke. You're absolutely right. Anyway, yeah, so I think the thing which maybe is to do with outrage, which I think is something which people still talk about today, especially in American society, although even I think this is something which possibly has changed relatively recently, is kind of the disconnect and the cognitive dissonance in the way that American media sensitivities treat swearing compared to violence. Yes. And that's something which this film stresses a lot. And something which I remember on Reddit I saw people talking about. Like, I remember there was people talking about an episode of Breaking Bad, I think it was, where some guy gets gasoline sprayed on him and burned alive, and then in the same episode someone sends a message like "fuck you," and the networks censored, like they're like blurred the word "fuck," and obviously that's kind of stupid, because it's like, well, hold on, there's saying people can watch, and I've always so that's like a thing you get a lot of the time, which has
I think the reason for that is because people can't just set people on fire. But people can swear easily. So I get why that is, the hypocrisy is there. You can literally murder someone and that's fine, but oh heavens that you swear. I mean, that's the thing, like, I think that has shifted, and I think our generation is a lot more prone to swearing and not...
Well, yeah, also in America as well. I think, like, America has liberalized considerably on swearing. Yeah. Ever since Donald Trump said that he just wanted to grab girls by the pussy, now swearing's okay, because like the people who were against it, they couldn't even. Although, did you hear? I always remember this time when someone went on Fox News and they said, like, I think it's despicable that a presidential candidate would say he wanted to grab a woman by the pussy, and the Fox News hosts were like, could you not use that language? Like, they literally said, can you not use that language on this show, please? There are children watching this, and the guy was like, yeah, but you're the person, you're the people saying he should be president of the United States. And I always found that funny. But
Well,
yeah, like,
I mean, they're hypocrites, obviously.
yeah. But yeah, basically, yeah, America has become more pro-swearing, it seems generally.
Well, again,
maybe
that
because of
goes-
us. Maybe all the British culture they've been consuming.
Well, that goes hand in hand with the fact that the moral majority in America, which existed throughout the 1990s, there's still remnants of it, obviously. Like, there are remnants of, it's still this moral panic. I mean, the thing about, it's tragic to mock, I guess, or to laugh at, but the various shootings that have happened in America, the various shootings that have happened in America recently, and what has been blamed by the likes of Fox News and President Trump are video games. So
it's like we're literally going back and we're just on repeat, we're on a loop.
Yeah, again, that's part of the moral panic in the 90s.
Next is going to be Marilyn Manson's going to be like, just like I haven't been relevant for 20 years. What are you blaming me for?
Yeah, no, that's good. Maybe Manson is hoping that he'll get relevant again.
Are you saying that Marilyn Manson is hoping for more school shootings?
Is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the only logical conclusion. No, but that's the thing. Like that thing of it's video games. That was mocked. That didn't hold any serious debate. It was in American society. Everyone was just like, "Well, of course not." Apart from, like we said, Trump and Fox News. So it just shows how much things have moved on in that regard in terms of the moral majority. No longer basically has that much influence or dominance over American culture, but it's still there, and that you can see that by the fact that people are much more comfortable with swearing nowadays, and people are much more comfortable with letting their kids just watch anything on the internet, which I think is the right move.
Hardcore porn.
Hardcore porn. Yeah.
Just put it down right in front of your kids. At the end of the day, what's the difference between Peppa Pig's Playtime and Anal Assassin's Fall?
Yeah,
it's just the series of images designed to convey a story.
Yes, a narrative, really. Yeah, and one that eventually does have a message.
Yes.
Anyway, so the message of this movie, though, I want to talk about this now.
Yes.
So the parents. Obviously, this movie mocks the parents, says that, you're stupid for, being so panicked over your kids and all that, watching South Park. But the parents who absolve responsibility in this movie and blame other people, and obviously that's implied by, in the song Blame Canada, when one of the lines in that is...
Before someone thinks of blaming us.
Yeah, we'll do anything before we blame ourselves. Something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously... I think that is something that, it's quite true, but it still implies what the kids are doing is bad. Like I said, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, we're well-adjusted human beings, Michael, us late millennials. We grew up okay, right, didn't we? We're fine.
Yeah, we did. Except we swear a lot.
Yeah, we swear a fucking lot.
Yeah.
And maybe that means we are degenerates, but you know what? I'm going to go out and say no. But yeah, obviously the Blame Canada song it's not a really a thing that it's directly parodying, I don't think, but I guess it's just parodying the absurd lengths that parents will go to absolve themselves of any blame. And obviously the message is when Kyle stands up to his mother at the end and says, blame me, talk to me, instead of, going out and trying to blame somebody else. Which, I think, again, there's no real need for blame, I don't think. But if there is someone to blame, if you're going to go down that path, then obviously Kyle is right. And I think, it is the correct message and one I agree with.
I agree. So, and obviously there's like the scene where Mrs. Klopowski, Mike Wazowski, is talking, and she's saying like, we need to protect our children because our children are really important and it matters that we care about our children. And meanwhile, Kyle.
Oh yeah, they're trying to talk to them.
They're trying to talk to them.
That was a bit on the nose, I felt.
Yeah, it was a bit on the nose. I mean, a lot of the thing is like a lot of the stuff in this. And to be honest, I think that applies to like a few things in South Park in general and this film, which is that there's the message, and then there's the way the message is conveyed, and a lot of the time the message is conveyed quite on the nose-ishly, as they say.
Yeah, I think on the nose, again, it's not subtle, it's not clever, really. These. The satire of the themes, really. But it is, I think, on the nose does help it in terms of its comedy, in terms of humour. If it's on the nose, then I think it allows itself to be funnier. It allows you to sit back and laugh. if this was a serious film somehow or some way, I don't know how that would be, but if it was, then obviously you don't want the satire to be as on the nose and the mocking as on the nose as it is. But yeah, it's a comedy, maybe it's not meant to be that highbrow, so I'm fine with it being kind of on the nose. But I do think that bit right there was just a bit too on the nose. It was just a bit too like, okay, I get it. Like, you don't really need to go that far with it. So yeah, I think that's it for the message, really. Oh, we got to talk about, I guess, censorship.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things, actually, they mentioned the MPAA.
Yes.
And we all know that any organisation which has a double vowel in their name is just really annoying because it's very difficult to distinguish between two vowels in immediate order. Like MPAA. What is that?
NCAAP?
Yeah, NAACP. Well, that's easy. See, that makes sense because you do it NAACP.
Okay.
So, and it's tuneful. NAACP. So I guess this is the MPAA. The MPAA, Motion Pictures Something Association of America. The something wasn't necessary. I realized what it actually was halfway through. Is obviously the organization which says what is and is not acceptable in films. Here's the story, though, because there's actually a documentary you should watch, which stars, in no small part, Matt Parker and Trey Stone. That's the right way around, is it?
Yes.
Trey? Yeah. Okay. And it's called This Movie.
No, it's not the right way around.
It's Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No. See, I kind of thought I was wrong, and then you agreed with me, and then I was like,
"Why did you say that?" Because I was like, "Yeah, he'll get it right. There's no way he's getting that wrong." And I was like, "Wait, no, Trey Stone. No, it's fucking." No.
Well, you know what, Luke? I mean, sometimes I just feel like we've got to take chances and just, roll with it. And maybe if I would have been a bit more confident and forceful, people would have just started calling them Matt Parker and Trey Stone.
Well, at least you didn't call them Trey Cruz. Yes, we'll take our wins. Go on.
Yes. So, the documentary is called This Film Is Not Yet Rated. And it's basically about the Motion Picture Association of America. And it's pretty much talking about how they're like a unaccountable cartel. No, basically, like, they just started, like, the organization just started giving films ratings, and then, like, companies just started putting it on, cinemas just started using it, and then it sort of just spiraled into a whole thing where it was like, well, now cinemas won't show it. Like, I don't think there's even a law that says cinemas aren't allowed to admit people, when it's an R-rated film and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like a convention. And basically the whole point is there's very little governance to the MPAA. Like, it's not a part of the government. I think I'm right. I haven't seen the documentary for a while. But it's basically what I'm saying. The essence of what I'm saying is
Trey
correct.
Parker and Matt Stone should be happy about that, surely.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
The government.
But the point is that it's a good, if you're interested in the MPAA and like the actual, legitimate criticisms
boy,
of
am
it,
I.
Yeah, then it's a really good documentary. One of the things I talk about, which I actually find very interesting, I'll tell you this is one fact I remember. In a PG-13 film, you can have one fuck. You can have the word fuck once, which I think a lot of people do know. But what's interesting is, if you use the word fuck to mean fuck, so in other words, to mean have sexual intercourse, then it's an R. So in a PG-13 film, you can have a character say, hey, fuck you, and that's fine. But if you have a character say, hey, I want to fuck you, that's an R, because it's then being used to communicate something sexual. So there's a fun fact about the MPAA. But the point is that, obviously, based on the fact that Trey Parker and Matt Stone
there we go.
Appeared in this documentary, we can obviously tell that they have issues with the MPAA, and that I think this documentary was made after the film, but they probably had some of these ideas in their head, and they had all of these problems with clearing things. And another thing, the MPAA, the other thing that everyone hates them for is, like, if there's any gay stuff in a film, it's like immediate R.
Really?
Well, I think they've changed it. See, the thing is, I do think some of this stuff has changed, but I remember there was a film starring Colin Firth, I think, called A Single Man, and not to be confused with A Serious Man, and it was about a gay guy. And basically, like, all the things he did were like, I mean, I don't think it's any gay stuff, but in other words, like, so for example, implied gay sex, at least in the past, would get a film an R.
Yeah.
And I say, like, in the past, like, the recent past, like, 20, 10 times. But I think they may have changed it.
I think they would have, otherwise there'd be some outrage over it.
Yeah. But they might have just got more subtle with it, who knows? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if still today it's like the heterosexual relationships and homosexual relationships are not treated equally.
Oh, yeah, but that might be just because of an unconscious bias. And
yeah.
It's different to a actual policy that they have.
Yeah. So I imagine they probably got rid of that. Anyway, so the point is that they hate the MPAA. I don't know if you've got anything to say about that, because that's not strictly censorship. Well, it's pretty much censorship. So
well, yeah. I mean, this movie, again, it is about how censorship is also dangerous. So in this movie, if the censorship does occur, it's saying then Satan and Saddam Hussein will come back from the dead to kill everyone, take over the world. Here's the thing which I found kind of funny. I don't think the South Park guys, well, as we'll talk about in a bit, they're not very political. And you could say, well, they've got a lot of their episodes involve politics, but they themselves don't see themselves as that. But the one area in which they are very committed in politics is censorship, and that's the one area that affects them the most, which is just
shows how self-centered they are. Actually, I just realised something just then. Okay, so obviously Terrence and Philip are self-inserts for Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and the plot of the film is that that Terrence and Philip are the innocents who will cause the end times by their blood being spilled, which is actually, maybe not intentionally, but that's a reference to the apocalypse. Revelation. In Revelation, there are two witnesses, and the two witnesses will speak out against the Antichrist, and then the Antichrist will kill the two witnesses, and that will be one of the breakings of the seals and all that kind of jazz, which, so obviously it's you might say it's a bit of an arrogant self-insert to be like, hey, if we ever died, we're these fantastic martyrs for free speech, and if we ever died, it would be like the apocalypse. So it's almost right up there with M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, again, yes, obviously they have some self-importance, but you could argue that, well, they're just putting Terrence and Philip in because they were in originally, and they can easily do that. And so, again, like, it's maybe they're not just talk about themselves; they're talking about their expression in general, or expression in general.
So they're avatars for this concept of expression. Yeah,
exactly. And censorship is the equivalent in this movie to the Antichrist and Satan. So censorship is very bad. And again, just talking about this theme, I think you and I pretty much agree on this. That censorship is bad, although maybe so here's the thing. Obviously I think we have to mention this when talking about censorship, because it's one of the most famous examples of censorship, and it involves South Park. Comedy Central censored the Prophet Muhammad because they didn't want to offend Muslims, and obviously Trey Parker and Matt Stone did this episode to try and see if they could draw the Prophet Muhammad, and Comedy Central pulled that scene. So, what do you think about that?
Well,
do you think the Comedy Central were right to do that? Because it is an interesting question. This happened in 2006, I think.
Yeah, see, the thing about censorship and free speech, but particularly censorship, because censorship is not the same thing as kind of the First Amendment. So the First Amendment isn't really to do with censorship, because obviously, so the general presumption, not always. So I suppose I should say censorship can be done by anyone, whereas the First Amendment only pertains to what the government can and cannot do. And obviously, we could say
be illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of an important thing that a lot of people distinguish between, or need to distinguish between, because a lot of the times people will say, "Hey, this TV network didn't allow an episode to be showed. That's a violation of the First Amendment," which is obviously not true. And that's the thing. Like, obviously, private companies have a right to do whatever they want. The question. So then, when you're dealing with censorship, you're basically dealing with the decision of companies to basically it's for some companies it's a question of profit versus values. For other companies it would be a case of values versus values, and you can never really tell the difference, because like some companies obviously they're going to say something like Reddit is the best example. Reddit has a bad reputation for being really slimy with basically they allow these right-wing communities to fester on their site, and then basically they only ever do anything about it when they get called out and they start to lose advertisers, and that's pretty much how it goes. Like, they had the whole, do you remember they had the whole jailbait site, and they had the creep shot subreddit, which was literally for taking pictures of women without their consent and posting it. And obviously jailbait was for posting underage girls who were attractive. And obviously then this got media coverage and advertisers started to pull out. And then Reddit was like, oh, we'll do something about this. And then they had like the fat people hate subreddit, which is for hating fat people. And then the media found out about it, and they started losing loads of advertisements. Yeah. And then Reddit said, okay, we're going to do so. And pretty much that's how it's always gone. So obviously in the case of Reddit, clearly it's money winning out over their values. It seems like Reddit pretty much has an attitude of laissez-faire when it comes to moderation, but then when their bottom line gets threatened, they pull out, as it were. Having said that, I think there are actual other sites where it's more the case that they genuinely don't want to encourage harmful things. Like, for example, I feel like this is probably the best example I think for maybe do Twitter. I don't know why. I get the impression from Twitter that they are actually kind of woke, because they seem to have gone above and beyond, possibly.
No,
even...
I don't think so. I really
maybe I'm lying. Okay,
yeah.
I don't know. But the thing is, well, let's just pick a hypothetical company, because clearly there are no actual companies like this.
Let's pick Comedy Central.
Okay, yeah. So Comedy Central, we'll assume it's possible that Comedy Central, you know what, they genuinely didn't want to offend Muslims, and it wasn't to do with the fact that they'd lose advertisements by being controversial or anything like that. They really didn't want to offend Muslims. And obviously the thing is, I mean, that's a value in itself. So it's kind of like, you could say the value of not wanting to make other people feel shitty is just as valid of a value as saying we're going to let people express their opinion. Okay,
so, well, that's what the question is, essentially. Yeah. I mean, well, even on a bit of a tangent about censorship and all that, but is the value of, hey, we're not trying to offend anyone, is that equal to or better than we just want freedom of expression, I guess? So did Comedy Central do the right... If it was a value
did they do the right thing, like Mookie?
If it was a value call, did they do the right thing, basically?
I think... See, the first thing I really want to say is that I think there are situations where that could be the right call, definitely. So there are situations that I can conceive of, and again, I won't go down a whole tangent of hypotheticals again, but there are situations I can conceive of where that would be the right decision. So I'm not, whatever my answer would be, I wouldn't say that it's always wrong to censor in the interests of, protecting people's feelings. In that case, I'm gonna say no, and I think the reason for me, so they were wrong to censor it, and I think the reason for me is because the whole point of the episode was about how censorship is bad. So I suppose the contrast would be, for example, if somebody just made an episode shitting on Muslims apropos of nothing, and basically the whole point of the episode was just, hey, let's piss off Muslims, then I would say, okay, yeah, cool that. But the whole point was basically, hey, we live in a free country, obviously all religions are entitled to their own religious edicts, but we have religious freedom here, so we're not bound by other people's religions, and therefore we can show Muhammad. And also, I think, if I remember correctly, there wasn't like an attempt to offend. It wasn't like, for example, I mean, the obvious example would be something like Charlie Hebdo. And obviously, I'm not saying that Charlie Hebdo deserved to be, shot up.
Well, but thank God for that.
Yeah, there we go. But the point is, Charlie Hebdo, they actually presented Muhammad in a really offensive way. And like they've done all sorts of,
wasn't just a drawing.
Yeah, it wasn't just like saying, hey, we're going to show him. Because I suppose the whole thing about like drawing Muhammad as a concept, as kind of an activist concept, is that basically drawing Muhammad from the perspective of somebody who doesn't worship Muhammad, or I should say, consider Muhammad to be of religious significance, things obviously Muslims don't worship Muhammad, but somebody who doesn't consider Muhammad to be of religious significance, is that drawing Muhammad is just drawing a guy. And obviously that's not an offensive thing. Now, if you drew Muhammad doing, I don't want to say anything too crazy, but drew Muhammad doing something really obscene and offensive, that would be bad. But just saying, hey, all we're doing is drawing a guy, and that shouldn't be a bad thing to do based on some other religion's religious edicts. I think in that context, they were wrong. But I will say, I don't think they were really 100. Yeah, Comedy Central was wrong to censor it. Although I do think there is a valid argument for the other way. And like I already said, if the whole intent was just to offend, I could see Comedy Central saying, we're going to pull it because we don't want to offend people, because that's wrong. So yeah.
Well, yes, I agree, because people just, I think that's quite a lot of comedy nowadays, just looking to offend people. And that is obviously, that comes from the backlash to political correctness. So it's like, oh, look how politically incorrect I am. I'm going to call this group of people.
This song is called Politically Incorrect.
Yeah, I know. And so there you go. So that is comedy nowadays. A lot of the time, and obviously it's not funny, and well, to me anyway, and again, I just think that is the wrong move. But what you said was, I think, right. South Park weren't trying to be offensive. They were, the point was about censorship, and I think obviously maybe they had to cancel the scene because of security reasons and things like that.
Yeah.
That was, maybe it wasn't a valid threat, maybe they were valid threats, I don't know, but would I have wanted, basically this is the question, would I have wanted that scene to be shown in the context? I would say yeah, because again, I agree with you. I think that, obviously it would have offended some people, and, you don't wish for that. But I think ultimately freedom of expression is something that is very important. And if you are just doing it to prove a point about censorship, then I think, again, it is the right thing to do.
Also, actually, a funny thing about censorship, which I have to bring up because it makes me laugh, the people who don't understand the difference between like criticizing something and censoring things, because this is like, I don't know, we're talking about
this
censorship.
Is fucking cancel culture.
So no, what I love is the people who say because obviously Anita Sarkeesian was the thing. And one of the things that I remember is loads of people were saying, in response to her, criticisms of the sexist stuff in video games, they were saying, hold on a minute, why is she against free speech? Why does she want to censor all of these video games? And obviously I just found that funny because, so there we go. I mean, that's just a PSA there for everyone who didn't know. Saying this thing is bad and has problematic elements is not, when you think about it, if you took that logically, you would say that we're censoring. Like, hey, Luke, we've censored I Feel Pretty by Amy Schumer because we said it was bad. We said people shouldn't watch it.
We said it was shit and its message was confusing and hypocritical and contradictory.
We need to stop censoring Amy Schumer.
Yes, we're censoring Amy Schumer. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Well, that's, again, like a lot of people nowadays, there is you criticize somebody, it's a criticism, and therefore that becomes, you're trying to censor that person.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, the thing is, there is kind of a flip side to that, which is sometimes you criticize somebody and then a bunch of other people go and do try and censor that person. So in that sense, so it's kind of like... I don't think
that happens that much, though. I think that's completely overblown to stop people, to try and scare people from criticizing people. Yeah.
But so I think the thing is, and like what I kind of was just thinking about, is that obviously censorship is an interesting topic because there are those very interesting discussions. And to me, the best example I can think of something about censorship was the Simpsons episode Marge vs. Itchy and Scratchy. I think is what it's called, which is obviously the one where Marge is offended by the violence in Itchy and Scratchy. And the whole 20-minute episode is basically just a debate over that topic. But what I find interesting about it is that it does kind of give a somewhat nuanced view in that when Itchy and Scratchy is banned, things are better. And, the children go outside and they're not as violent anymore. But then the ultimate message is that Marge then realizes that actually that benefit doesn't beat out the benefit of having people be free to express themselves. And the point is, it's a nuanced message. I think even that episode could have stood to be more nuanced. But the point is that was kind of, I liked. And censorship in general, you can have that nuance of like the conflict between protecting people's feelings versus protecting people's expression. And the difference between criticism and censorship and how people might take criticism and turn it into censorship or misunderstand criticism and censorship and all that kind of stuff. And I guess the problem is, as we've already said, I think several times now, the South Park, it's not clever and it's not particularly nuanced a lot of the time. Like, I can't think of any I haven't seen that many South Park episodes, but I can't really think of any moment where South Park has been particularly nuanced on any issue, which is weird because they claim to be like, we're down the center, we're down the middle, we're the people who call out both sides. And I think to an extent that's true, but they never call out both sides in such a way that they draw any nuanced conclusions. They kind of just sit in the middle and go, if both sides hate me, I must be right.
Yeah, okay, so you've gone on a bit of a tangent there.
Sorry, I just remember that meme. The meme where, remember the meme where it's like, guy shits his pants, person on the right, hey dude, you shit your pants. Person on the left, yeah, you shit your pants. Guy who shit his pants. Well, if both sides are criticizing me, I must be right.
Yeah, okay. So, you said before you talked about that Simpsons episode and nuance around censorship. This movie, this is not nuanced. You literally have Satan and Saddam Hussein coming from hell to take over the world if censorship is enacted. So I think that is about as far from nuance as you can get. Yeah. So, yes, but that's the thing. Should we criticise the movie for not being nuanced? Because if they are promoting a position, if they have a point to make, they don't have to be nuanced, or are we criticize, or do we need to criticize them for the fact that they are not nuanced?
I think, like, obviously there is, so, for example, there are moments where you say, well, you shouldn't criticize, the position, something, like, obviously if a film has something to say, then the fact it has anything to say is often quite a good thing.
Exactly, yeah.
In this case, I think because there's so little to the film, apart from the issue of censorship, there has to be more there than just censorship is evil and only Satan and Saddam Hussein could, or it will lead to the rise of Satan and Saddam Hussein, and like obviously the least nuanced position ever. And basically, I mean, that's the thing, that is basically the message of the film. It's just Satan, the censorship is absolutely evil, and obviously you can come to that conclusion in more sophisticated ways, but ultimately, the only thing, if you were to talk about like the themes of this film, the only thing you can do is talk about what this film doesn't explore, really. And that's and obviously, I've gone off on quite a few tangents, but I think in a way that kind of communicates the point, which is I'm trying to talk about the issue of censorship, and in doing so, I'm departing from what this film talks about, because this film doesn't really talk much about censorship.
I did kind of bring up the Prophet Muhammad, so that's maybe my bad for starting on that.
Speaking of the Prophet Muhammad, I do want to talk about a double-parter episode of South Park, Cartoon Wars, and it's also
well, that's when it contains
that was it, wasn't it? Yeah, sorry,
that was it,
yeah. But the thing is, okay, so obviously I was being a bit stupid with my tangent there, but the thing that I want to bring up about it is that Cartman is the one who is against the image of the Prophet Muhammad being shown out of all the people. And the thing is, his reason isn't because he doesn't want Muslims to be offended. Or, so in other words, his position isn't a reasonable position. It's not a reasonable reflection of the other opinion. Instead, the reason he adopts that position is because he says, haha, if Family Guy is forced to censor the Prophet Muhammad, then they'll be forced to censor everything, and then their whole show will collapse. So basically, in other words, the person they have adopt the pro-censorship position is doing it for duplicitous and insincere reasons that are basically evil. So again, I think that just shows another example of how they're not very good at being nuanced on this thing.
Yes.
That's like how they choose to represent.
Well, yeah, again, should they be nuanced?
No, yeah, I mean, like I say, the thing is,
yeah.
I suppose the thing is, obviously, the problem is it's a big film. So in a way, if it was like a 20-minute episode, I would say, well, just have a smaller story. But ultimately, if you're going to take an hour and 20 minutes of my time watching a bunch of people fart, then,
Wow. Okay.
If I'm going to say it's a good film, I mean, I'm not saying like I couldn't, sit there and go, ha, farting. But if I'm going to say like, hey, this was a good film, or at least a particularly good film, then there needs to be something more than just the bare minimum in terms of what it has to say.
Yeah, and I guess the thing is, with, again, we talked about it before, the lack of subtlety in the mocking and the parodying, but also the lack of nuance. Again, it helps with comedy. If you want to make this position be as ridiculous as possible to prove your point, then obviously that helps your position, but it also helps comedy. If this position is ridiculous, then people can sit back and laugh. And now, obviously, that only works if you agree with, or I guess disagree with that position by making it so ridiculous. But obviously, the thing is, most South Park viewers agree with South Park's views, so that works for them. But yeah, I guess I can't really criticize it for being unnuanced, because it's a comedy film. It's meant to be funny, and if a film has a strong stance on something, then that's their stance. So we can't say, well, try to be balanced, because then that's ridiculous. So yeah, I think ultimately the theme of censorship, it is something that, again, it's quite ham-fisted, but whatever, that's their right, and I don't think we can not maybe down for being so ham-fisted.
Satan was getting Saddam-fisted.
Okay, so let's move on to the humour now.
Yes.
So,
first thing I wanted to say is that the title is a literal dick joke.
Well, obviously, yeah. I think everyone knows that.
I mean, I just thought that was funny because, because dick jokes are very immature. So it just shows how immature this... you were about to say that I don't think this is very funny. No,
I mean, I wasn't. But let me just continue.
It was what you were about to say, Luke.
So in South Park, you've got this movie. You've got the outlandish stuff that happens in every South Park episode. Just there's a load of jokes in this, which is quite good, because I think the comedy films we watched recently, there isn't as many jokes. But this one does feel like really jam-packed with jokes, and it is actually trying to be funny. Which
Satan was Saddam-backed.
That's great. Okay, we'll talk about Satan and Saddam Hussein in a bit, but I just want to say, the Cartman, he's hilarious. I just love that character, the way he is just so blunt and just, I guess maybe it's lowbrow comedy, I don't know, but I just really find Cartman really funny. So I don't know, does that make me a moron, Michael? Does that make me 10 years old?
Yeah, it makes you a moron. You're a nerd.
Okay, so sorry about that, but again, I think I found this movie quite funny. I just laughed at a lot of stuff, and particularly Cartman, and I thought there were some good jokes in it. So what can I say? What did you think?
Yeah, okay, so I didn't find this film particularly funny, as I already said. I used that exact word, particularly funny. The second time I watched it, I only even half laughed once. I think the first time I watched it, the thing is, I first watched it. Well, actually, we first watched it as a group at university, and that's one thing I will say. It's obviously funnier with a group of people, as is the case for a lot of comedies. But I didn't find it very funny. There were two jokes which I actually found. Which to me, I guess only two jokes I really found funny. The thing is, there was lots of stuff that was sort of stupid and just off the wall, which was kind of, I think in a way, it was fun. To me, more than it was funny. So it was kind of like, I was like, I can tell that this is lighthearted and not very serious. But there was nothing in it that kind of that tickled me pink. Apart from two. Number one, the ping pong ball joke. I don't know why. Just so obviously this woman, you think she's firing ping pong balls out of her vagina, and then it cuts and she's actually just bouncing it on a ping pong bat or a table tennis bat. I don't know what they're called. And I guess that was just like surprising because I guess in a way it kind of worked because the whole film so far had just been loads of obscene jokes. So obviously she says, "I'm going to do my ping pong trick," and then she opens her legs and ping pongs start firing out, and you think, oh, she's firing ping pongs out of her vagina. That's kind of what I expect, just obscene. And then it cuts, and she's just bouncing it on a racket. I found it funny. But the one I found really funny, and it's tickling me just remembering it, is when Cartman's like to I always get this wrong. Kyle, he's like, hey, Kyle, those times I called you a Jew? Well, I was just kidding. You're not a Jew, really. And Kyle's like, no, I am a Jew. And Cartman's like, don't be so hard on yourself. I just found that funny because it was like kind of, and I suppose it was good because obviously you get that kind of forced sentimental moment in a lot of films, and obviously in that context it was obviously the forced sentimentality meeting the absurdist, and it made me laugh.
I guess it's they can say those Jewish jokes because I think one of them, either Trey Parker or Matt Stone,
I think
Jewish.
I can imagine it would be Matt Stone because of like Stein.
Okay, well that's a bit of a leap, I'd say, but...
Well, okay, so I do know... So Stein is German for stone.
Oh, okay.
That is actually true. And I think the reason... So obviously, this isn't a racist thing to say because it's true. The reason why a lot of Jewish people have...
Okay, well that's a great fucking line.
No, the reason why a lot of Jewish people have precious metals in their name is because... I don't know if you know this, Luke, but Jews were... relegated to the banking and the monetary class in medieval Europe because of the Catholic laws against usury.
Yes, I do. Yes,
and so a lot of Jewish people work with money, and obviously that led to banking and where they might have gold and silver, and that's why those Jewish people are called bloody blah Goldberg and bloody blah Silverstein.
They were forced into it by the fact that Catholics didn't want to have anything to do with money because it was sinful, and then they do well from that, and then that is that calls for anti-Semitic behaviour towards them.
But so I don't really know why. Unlucky. Yeah, because a lot of Jews are called Stein, and I don't really know why. Obviously Stone, but I would imagine maybe it comes from like precious gems being called gemstones. Either way, the important thing is Matt Stone is of Jewish heritage. So there we go. So clearly I was right. Well, no matter how I got there, my conclusion was correct.
Anyway, so for me, the comedy, I like the human shield joke, by the way. I thought that one was good. And my favourite line was the line about the Emancipation Proclamation, and the general says, I don't listen to hip-hop.
Yeah,
did you not find that funny? I thought that was a good line.
Yeah, okay, so I found it funny. It didn't tickle me. So I did, I thought, it didn't tickle me, but I did find it funny.
Okay, yeah, the way it does parody it, again, the moral majority, like we said at the start, in general, is funny as well. And I also enjoy the the joke about Cartman. It's fucking Cartman. It's
Cartman.
Cartman. That's the thing. It says on my document Cartman instead of just Cartman because it automatically creates a space.
It's like a really rubbish superhero. All you can do is go shopping.
So when Cartman... So they're on the computer... And I think it's Stan that says, "Hey, Cartman, is that your mum?" And he goes, "Fuck off." And it's like, "No, that really is your mum." And when he asked his mum, "Have you ever?" You would tell me if you've ever been in a German Scheiße video, wouldn't you, mum?
She's like, "Good night, Cartman."
Yeah. That was. I enjoyed that bit as well. So, okay, now I want to talk about the Saddam Hussein Satan storyline.
Yes,
because it's just meant obviously for a metaphor about censorship and all that, but it is really weird. When it was going on, I was like, oh yeah, shit, I remember this. Yeah, there was a fucking Saddam Hussein in this movie when I watched it again, and I think it was kind of funny, but looking back at it, it just does seem bizarre. It's not that original of an idea. You know, Satan, the scary thing, he's actually sensitive and caring and sweet.
As Ned Flanders says, it's always the one you least expect.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it was bold to portray Satan as a good guy, you know, considering Christian dominance of the culture in the 1990s. Maybe, you know, it was brave and, you know, props to that if that was the case. But I don't know, just like I said, just looking back on it, it does seem a bit bizarre. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's obviously, I mean, the thing is, it's kind of weird, like, because Saddam Hussein at this point, I guess, obviously, this was before the Iraq War, but obviously after the Gulf War. So it's kind of interesting to see, like, this sort of preemptive, hey, look, Saddam Hussein's a dickhead thing. So I like that, kind of. Well, I was indifferent towards it, but, you know, it's just, hey, take this dictator and make him look like a loser, or, you know, well, I guess he's not really a loser. I mean, I guess he's cucking Satan, which, to be honest, that's pretty, not cucking, but, you know, like dominating Satan, using Satan. So actually, that's kind of alpha. But you know, like, so showing Saddam Hussein being gay with Satan, I suppose maybe in a way that's kind of how they kept the conservatives on board. It's like, hey, listen to this, we're going to have Satan be kind of a sympathetic character, and all the, you know, evangelicals and white conservatives and that stuff are like, "Rrr," and I'm like, but he's going to be gay with Saddam Hussein, and they're like, yeah. So they kind of, you know, give and take. Well,
did you find the storyline funny or not?
No.
Well, that was a big no. That was an immediate no.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's again, it's something which I'm like, this is silly, and I'm aware it's silly as I'm watching it, and in that sense, it's like a light jog for my funny senses. They're like, that's jogging. This is funny. Saddam Hussein dating Satan. But there's nothing in there that really gives them cause to sprint.
Yeah, I think with me, I do enjoy absurdist humour, but this just seemed a bit too weird. And I'm not sure what the point was. I tried to look up on the Wikipedia page about Saddam Hussein. I assume he was involved in previous episodes of South Park.
I might look him up on the South Park wiki.
Yeah, I assume he was, and that's why he's in this movie. And the reason why he's in hell and dead is because he was in previous South Park episodes. But I mean, I don't know. It is quite weird, and like I said, the comedy's not really that original. But again, it is quite absurdist, so there is part
He first appeared in South Park Season 2, episode Terrence and Phillip is Not Without My Anus.
And when did that come out?
So Season 2, I guess that's 98, I think?
Yeah, 98, yeah. Okay.
And then shortly before the American-Canadian War, he was killed by a pack of wild boars and became Satan's jealous, emotionally abusive and manipulative ex-boyfriend.
Okay, yes. So yeah, he has been in that before. I guess that's why he's in it, but if you don't know, if you're just watching this movie for the first time and it's like, why the fuck is Saddam Hussein dead, obviously in 1999, and why is he with Satan? What the fuck is going on here? And I guess you do need that bit of context to stop it seeming as bizarre as it does. But in general, I like the absurdist humour, so I don't have that big a problem with it.
Yeah.
But it's not that funny, but whatever. It's like you said, it was a good comparison. It's like a light jog. It's like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. I suppose the other thing that should be mentioned, especially ever since you did that thing where you called Quentin Tarantino a hack because you said anybody could write Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
I just know that. But
no, to be honest, I pretty much did.
Yeah, but obviously anybody could come up with a joke like that. The thing is, like, obviously Kim Jong-un is like the easiest example because Kim Jong-un's very
the big Kim Jong-un nowadays.
Kim Jong-un getting fucked by Hades.
No one knows who Hades is, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, I just didn't. I mean, to be honest, you could just say Satan again, like as it is.
He's moved on.
He's Kim Jong-un, famous guy. Or Kim Jong-un getting fucked by Hitler in hell.
Okay.
And they don't like each other because Hitler is a vegetarian and Kim Jong-un looks kind of like a pig.
Yeah, okay. No, that works.
Then to prove he's not Jewish, he decides to have sex with Kim Jong-un because he wants to look like he's willing to have sex with a pig. Okay,
I think we should move on. So just sum up on the humour. I think I found it kind of funny. Yeah. It's more funny than you, and I think, I enjoyed it. I think that what the important thing was, like I said at the start, they tried. It does feel like they tried to make it funny. The French guy as well, the Le Resistance guy, again, a bit of a, stereotype or whatever, but I thought it was quite funny again. So
he died. Although I guess he didn't die because he wished for it to go back to how it was before the war, so...
so he's alive, yeah. So
somewhere.
Yeah, it's decently funny, I think. And I think, it's a lot better than some of the comedy movies we've seen doing this talk that we do. Namely Daddy's Home. And Daddy's Home 2, though. That is...
Yeah, that's a classic.
That sets the standard. Anyway, music now.
I kind of agree, yeah. So I just say I agree. Music. So... Yeah. Have you got a list of every single song, Luke? That's what you usually like to do.
Yeah, but I don't think we should do every single song.
You're right.
I just think we should talk about the one that got nominated for an Academy Award, which was Blame Canada.
Yes. Oh, really?
Yeah. Got nominated for an Academy Award.
Okay. I didn't even have that one written down. The two I had written down were the Uncle Fucker song and the Carl's Mom's a Bitch song. Mostly because those are the two songs I remember from as being, a kid.
I think the Uncle Fucker song... I don't know. Maybe
shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker.
Yeah, I think what they're doing with that is kind of parodying what maybe people think South Park is. It's just a bunch of swear words, and it's just a bunch of songs about fucking and not really about fucking, saying the word fucking and saying shit and all of those other great swear words that we know and love. But yeah, I mean. Maybe I'm off there, but it does seem like well, you think we're like Terrence and Phillip, just saying Uncle Fucker and saying all these songs, but we actually produce satire and we actually, we're actually smart. Yeah. I looked at one of the South Park controversies page on the Wikipedia, and essentially one of the things I will use to back up my point, it was in 2007 when the N-word was uttered, I think 11 times. On a South Park show, and so whoever censors TV in America, isn't it I can't remember, do you know?
No, I assume it's not the FCC?
FCC, that's probably it. They said, you can't do that or whatever, or they had a go at South Park, and the NAACP were like, no, we think it's good because it's showing how Black Americans feel when white people say the N-word. So again, there is maybe...
Yeah, I heard about that, actually.
Yeah, there's maybe South Park just showing, hey...
Yeah, predicting the future.
Well, yeah, predicting the future and saying, people think we're just like Terrence and Phillip, but we're actually not. We're actually smarter than that, and they're mocking people who think they are like Terrence and Phillip. So that's my 2 cents. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, my kind of thoughts actually were just I found both those songs catchy. I don't think I've done... especially for example, the Carl's Mom's a Bitch song. I don't think that's... makes any meaningful subversive point.
No, I don't think it does.
But obviously, I think you could say the Uncle Fuck song is obviously kind of parodying this simplistic view of adult humour.
Yes.
Or I guess you'd say kind of South Park style humour. But apart from that, we can talk about, and obviously the Blame Canada song actually does have has plenty of messages in it. So yeah, talk about that, Luke. Tell me all about
I guess we've already talked about the message. Blame Canada, parents just blaming anybody but themselves for their perceived failings, because obviously that's the easiest thing to do. And like I said before, it was nominated for an Academy Award, which is quite unusual. I did not expect that when I looked it up on Wikipedia page. But do you know what actually won in 2000?
I was going to try and find out, but I'm not going to be able to beat you to it, so I'll just say no, I don't.
It was the Phil Collins song "You'll Be in My Heart" from Tarzan, which was parodied on an episode of South Park released the following year, called so Timmy 2000. That was the episode name, and apparently the song was called "You'll Be in Me." In the episode, Colin acts as the episode's antagonist and is always seen holding the Oscar statuette. At the end of the episode, it gets painfully stuck up his rectum. So
good. Love it.
There you are. They really got Phil Collins for that.
Yeah, they got him good. I bet he was so angry.
Yeah, so there you go. That's, I guess, the music. I also like La Resistance, which obviously is the song parodying Les Miserables as well.
Yeah.
I thought that, I liked it how everyone joined in at the end. I was like, oh, you know what? They put some effort into this. And that's the thing about, I guess, this movie. They put effort into it with the animation and the humour and the music. I think they do care, which, again, it seems like a low bar, but considering some of the things we've watched, I think it's a passion project, I guess, this movie you could say. Or maybe a passion project's going a bit too far, but it is a movie made by two people primarily, so obviously they want to put in a lot of effort into it, so it makes sense that they would. But yeah, I thought, that it's interesting to make it into a musical, but I think they did. They were successful in that. What do you think?
They've written other musicals.
Yeah, they did.
So they wrote the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, Book of Mormon. Yeah. That's whenever I go into Manchester, there's a massive billboard outside of the train station that says praising the Book of Mormon. So there you are. Oh. Do you want to talk about South Park in general now?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, so I already kind of said that my opinion on this film is similar to my opinion on South Park, which is like, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, like I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. I don't consider it to be like fantastic. But yeah, I mean, what do you have to say about South Park?
What do I have to? So I was just going to talk about South Park in general and kind of criticize it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go down that path. This is from Wikipedia, by the way. Commentary made in episodes has been interpreted as statements Parker and Stone are attempting to make to the viewing public. So essentially what that means is, South Park represents the view of their two creators, which I think everybody pretty much knows. It has a disregard for conservative sensibilities, negative depiction of liberal causes, and portrayal of religion for comic effect, which have all generated controversy and debate over the course of its run. So here's the thing about South Park, which I really get the sense that they hate people who care.
Yeah.
They hate people who are, in their opinion, sanctimonious.
Well, the best example of that is it's called like, I can't remember what the episode's called, but it's something like Al Gore is concerned about Man Bear. And the whole episode is that Al Gore, instead of saying... So it's everything Al Gore said about climate change over the course of his entire life. Except instead of saying all this about climate change, he's saying it about Man Bear, which is a half man, half bear. Oh, sorry, Man Bear Pig. Yeah, sorry, I'm being... Yeah, so Man Bear Pig. And obviously, it doesn't even really say anything about climate change. Because the episode isn't about climate change. The episode is literally just saying, haha, Al Gore cares about this thing. So let's just make him care about something which he doesn't care about instead, and then make fun of him for caring about the thing that he cares about.
Yeah, so I was, again, there's other examples of this, but I think South Park in general, I think it's Generation X through and through.
Yeah.
It is the epitome of that generation, and I think the reason is Generation X, they don't like taking sides. And the reason for that is there was no counterculture.
When did society take my side, man? That's what they'd say.
There was no counterculture when they were growing up that was political. You had the Democrats and the Republican Party in the United States, similar in their policy. So anything political is weird, and there's no need for it. You shouldn't care about anything. That's the general sense I get from just listening to people who I know are Gen X, various capacities, and obviously South Park as well. And the reason for this, obviously, the dominant culture, which was right-wing, well, maybe not right-wing, right-of-centre neoliberalism, won out against the 1960s counterculture, as demonstrated in Forrest Gump, as we talked about. And obviously, Soviet Union fell. So yeah, it's like, this is it.
We didn't start the fire.
For the rest of history, right-of-centre neoliberalism will be the dominant form of government in every country. Obviously, there was that book as well by, what was he called? Do you know who I'm talking about? The book titled The End of History?
Oh, Francis Fukuyama, that
was it. So yeah, like Generation X grew up in this time. No recession. Well, there was a bit of a recession actually in like 91, I think, but no major recession. No wars which were, I mean, America's always in wars, but no wars which stressed the nation like the Iraq War or the Vietnam War. So there was no reason to be political, essentially. That's the point I'm trying to make. No reason to be political. So therefore, it's cool to be apolitical, and everything else is stupid. You know, being political is stupid. All the politics is stupid, and you shouldn't really care about anything. Like, politics doesn't appeal to these people, to Gen X growing up. Like, it appeals to millennials or baby boomers who like the counterculture. So therefore, that of course, Matt Stone, I said that is the right way around. Yeah, Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Yeah, so you're falling apart now.
I just didn't want to get it wrong. Okay, I just didn't want to get it wrong because the price of me getting that wrong is just.
You can never criticize me for getting names wrong again.
Exactly, especially as I criticised you earlier. Then to have me blow up in my face, that'd be awful. So yeah, I think that's the general sense I get out of South Park. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't care about stuff. Everything's apolitical. Like, stop trying to be so political. Of course, in this fucking movie, they mock that Gregory for being political. It's like that stands
There's
like,
the girl that I like.
Yeah, I wish I could be political and stuff, implying that he's a prick, a tool, as they'd say in America, just for being political, and he's a bit of a jackass. So yeah, and as you said, that was the case with the Man Bear Pig episode. It was also the case. I think this was a different episode because obviously the Man Bear Pig one was mocking Al Gore's commitment to climate change. There was one which was mocking the fact that people were looking for reasons to blame Hurricane Katrina on climate change, and the message was, well, what if stuff just happens? I think that was essentially the message, which is kind of stupid.
That's a beautiful message.
Yeah, it was like, well, what if it was just a bad hurricane? I think that was the message. Like, there's no need to look at why this happened.
Oh, what if it was because we allowed abortions in gay marriage? Did anyone even think about that?
Yeah, there was also the Rainforest episode as well, which is like season 3, episode 1, which I remember because it's called Rainforest Schmainforest, and kind of mocks people caring about the rainforest, which I think
too bloody right.
Is kind of crazy considering how badly that has aged. Yeah. Considering Bolsonaro is burning down the Amazon, and it doesn't look good for the planet's health. It just says here on the season 3, episode 1, Rainforest Schmainforest, the episode was inspired by Trey Parker's personal intense distaste towards rainforest, which he formed after a visit to Costa Rica. So,
well, to be honest, the rainforests are pretty crap. I mean, they're filled with animals and stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, I don't like the rainforest, so I'm just going to mock people who care about the rainforest. There you go. I think ultimately, has it had a good effect on people who like this show? I'm going to say no, because I think it has made them, like, there's a whole generation of people who have this like South Park mentality. It's like, oh, everything's stupid. Like, and that's the thing as well. I think it allows people to be lazy as well. Like,
I want to tell you a really funny story, actually, which is very much related. Okay, so
you go first. Yeah,
I have a video I'm planning on making, which is going to be intensely satirical, and the point is going to be, it's like, the title of the video is going to be something like "Men Shouldn't Be Allowed to Vote," and basically it's from, I went onto the a subreddit called the Testosterone subreddit, and literally it's like this guy goes on there and he says, when I started taking testosterone, so he basically says, like, I used to be really concerned about social justice movements. I used to show up to rallies and like be really keen to like support, be against racism and sexism and all that kind of stuff. And then I started taking testosterone, and now I just don't care about anything. And like, it was all of these guys on this testosterone subreddit saying like the same thing. And they were like proud of it. They were going like, yeah, man, I used to like care about things. And I used to like, want the world to be a better place. But now I'm on testosterone and I don't care about anything. And the joke was basically going to be that they're like hormonal. Like, cause obviously people say women are hormonal. And the joke is that these guys are literally talking about how they don't care about anything. Cause testosterone, that was going to be the joke. But the thing is like, that's basically that kind of pretense of, them accrediting all of this to a hormone side. The whole thing is they're literally basically saying, and obviously the pretense here, they're not presenting this as a bad thing. They're presenting it like, look, I'm so manly now. I don't care about anything. I used to care about things when I was a low T beta, but now I don't give a shit about anything. And I think that's pretty much exactly what obviously you're thinking about there.
Also, it needs to be noted, obviously, it also comes from a position of privilege, being able to not care about stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I remember the episode which was, what was it called? I'm going to get it up. It was called Douche and Turd. I think came out.
Oh, no, it was like giant douche and shit sandwich or something. Oh, turd sandwich.
Yeah, but the actual episode was called Douche and Turd.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that was obviously the, that I'll tell you what I always hate about that episode. Like, it's one of the episodes where they basically just straight up tell you the thesis, like a guy stands in front of the camera and tells you the thesis. I always remember, because he like runs away to an anarchist commune or something, and the guy's like, oh, I got an election. And the guy's like, yeah, basically every election is an election between a giant douche and a turd sandwich. And I'm like, yeah, I got that. That's the whole point of the episode. You didn't need to literally explain the point of the episode to me, Buster. Which is another thing that South Park does. If we're talking about South Park in general, another thing South Park does that annoys me is like, even when they come close to making like a subtle point, they often like shove it in your face. And that's the thing, I genuinely think that South Park, it's not for smart people. Like South Park, they don't trust their audience to be smart, because they, anytime they try and make an intelligent point, they'll say that they don't want to be. Like, they just make stuff because it's comedy, and it's their particular brand of comedy. So, yeah, and what you were saying before about the, what was it called? Douche. Yeah. Shit sandwich, and what was the other thing? There was a turd sandwich and a giant douche.
Giant douche. Okay. And so, therefore, what this episode is trying to, because it came out right before the 2004 election, is there's no difference between George Bush and
John Kerry?
John Kerry, yes. And there's no point in voting, essentially, which is weird because Colorado is actually a swing state where they're meant to live, but whatever. But yeah, so according to Nick Gillespie, he said, the episode pretty much sums up how libertarians approach politics. Douche and turd are used again in season 20 episode Member Berries and the subsequent episodes in which they refer to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton respectively in the 2016 presidential election. So yeah, there you go. It's just like, voting's pointless, and obviously that comes from a position of privilege. Yeah. Considering these guys, they don't have to worry about who becomes president between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, because they'll be fine, just like they didn't have to worry about who became president between George Bush and John Kerry. Now, there's less difference between George Bush and John Kerry.
They're not Iraqi children.
Yeah, exactly. In 2016, compared to 2016, but still, there was a difference between the two.
I actually did have. I mean, you said, Fraser, that they kind of try and focus on just being stupid and not being kind of political, and that's something they should try and do, and that's something that they would say they do. I will say that my favorite episode of South Park, of the ones I've seen, is actually an episode which isn't that well received by most other people, but it's called Stan Lee's Cup. I think it's called that. And basically the episode is that Kyle, no, why would I say that? I'm saying so stupid. Stan, obviously. Stan coaches a little kid ice hockey team to victory, and at the end, basically what happens is the other little kid ice hockey team can't play. So instead, a bunch of professional ice hockey players agree to play, and they basically just completely trounce the little kids, and they're like slamming into them, and the little kids are getting smashed up against the wall, and they're losing teeth and stuff. But the episode is played like, or this part of the episode is played like it's the end of a sports epic. And there's like a bit where one of the players, the professional player's dad, appears out of nowhere and he says, "Son, I'm proud of you." And the professional player's like, "Thanks, Dad." And they like just hug. And it just, I don't know. It was just so funny because it's just stupid. And obviously you could say it's a parody of, like sports dramas or sports epics. And the thing is, like, there is literally nothing political in that whole episode. And it's also my favourite, so I guess that shows that they should just, to please me, somebody who disagrees with their politics, they should never mention politics again.
Yeah, and so the thing is about their politics, which I was going to say before you cut me off. I was going to say I think it has had a bad effect on the whole generation who like this show. It's because it does allow people who watch it to be lazy, and it's kind of what you were saying before about people who watch it aren't smart. Well, it's because these people who watch it, they can watch South Park and laugh, not have to think about these issues, and just say, "Oh, well, that side is stupid." Gives them an excuse to think, everything is dumb, because in the back of their heads, they're like, "I know I should know about this political stuff, but that stuff is boring, so I'll just believe it's all stupid. So therefore, in my mind, I can justify not caring about it." And I think that is the case with South Park. I think you have a bunch of people watching it who, again, you said that they're not smart, just saying, "Well, everything's stupid." And that gives them an out. It's like, I don't have to think about politics because everything is stupid. And to a certain extent...
Nothing is real. Strawberry fields forever.
And so here is the thing, that there is an argument that, I guess, that the Trey Parker and Matt Stone are right, that everything, I guess, is quote-unquote stupid. Or certainly was when the show was first doing really well. Like, there wasn't a lot of difference between the two political parties and all that, but they're coming at it from a libertarian point of view, which, again, because that's their politics, instead of, I guess, left-wing, in America it would be far left at the time, or far-right view, which is all these parties are the same, but it's like, it's really weird. It's like, it's just, voting is pointless, just don't care about anything, I don't agree with that message at all, obviously. And here's the thing: I haven't seen these episodes, but in later seasons that have been released more recently, they have started to push back about some of their messaging that they had in the early 2000s, because they've realized they're wrong.
Well, I heard that they both came out as actual Republicans recently. Well, I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I didn't know.
I might look it up just to check. Okay.
Look it up. Well, I know there was this quote. While you look it up, I'll just say.
I know that one of them says, I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, from Matt Stone, who said, "I hate conservatives, but I really fucking hate liberals." So that would imply they're more conservative, I guess.
Okay, here's a fun fact. I found something out. There's a Wikipedia article for the phrase South Park Republican.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm looking at now, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a person who holds centre-right political beliefs influenced by the popular American animated television programme South Park. Many may hold generally conservative views on fiscal issues, but some, but not all, may be more moderate or liberal in regard to social issues such as LGBT rights and abortion. And it talks about political views, yeah. So apparently, they're disillusioned with both parties. And libertarian, yeah. All right.
Yeah, and so, again, like, maybe saying everything is stupid causes people to not care about politics, and then, therefore, not caring about politics, well, guess what? Then you have people who aren't motivated to go out and vote, and then you have a situation, or to get, maybe not to vote, to get involved in politics, I'll say that in general, care about issues, and then when that isn't the case, well, there's a bunch of people, in America at least, on the right wing, who really care about a lot of issues and are radicalised, and in elections in America, it is all about turnout now, because the country is divided on a whole bunch of issues. Whichever side can get the biggest turnout wins. It's not about trying to meet in the middle, it's about making sure your base is enthusiastic about voting you. And that was exactly the case in the 2018 midterms. But a lot of turnout, massive turnout, but there's more Democrats than Republicans, and the Democrats easily won because they're both. Well, that's the thing.
The high turnout always means a Democratic victory.
Yes,
just in general, and low turnout means. So that's the thing. Like, Republicans, their main thing is to try and stop people voting. Yeah, that's why it's the Republicans who have all the strict voter laws and all that kind of stuff. So I guess it makes sense that you'd have a South Park Republican. Someone thinks, hey, don't worry about politics, just vote for a laissez-faire Republican.
Yeah, exactly. So, and therefore, depressing turnout, which is what I don't know how much South Park actually had an effect on depressing turnout. I'm not saying they...
Well, the thing is, it's important to understand, actually, that South Park does not have anything like the clout it used to have. I was looking at the ratings because I was curious, and it was about 3 million in the early well, actually not early 2000s, late 2000s, obviously, as in approaching 2010, it was in the 3 millions. It actually doesn't have details for the early 2000s, which I would imagine it was even higher then. Now, the last season, every single episode was under 1 million views.
That makes sense. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Their worldview is kind of not relevant anymore, I guess, as well. That plays into it, and as well.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone hates each other.
Yeah, and obviously the show being on so long, and naturally, viewership will decline. But yeah, I guess what the point is I'm trying to make is, not that South Park cost Hillary Clinton in 2016, or is the reason why Democrats haven't been successful over the last decade compared to Republicans. It's that if you think about the people who watch South Park, who, see an episode and think, oh, that's funny, and then get sucked in and agree with the messaging, then it has a bad effect on them. Because the likelihood is they're not going to be millionaires like Trey Parker and Matt Stone. And the likelihood is they're not going to have a life which, it doesn't matter what political things happen, like Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they don't care who gets elected because their life's going to be the same. And that is not the case with the fans who watch it. So I think it has had a bad effect on them. So yeah, that's my take on South Park. Maybe a bit cynical, maybe a bit harsh, but yeah, I think the fact that they've changed course in the last few years, I've seen on Twitter, means I'm kind of right. I'm kind of right.
Yeah, I'd rather be a bit harsh than a bitch farce.
Okay, shall we get on to the conclusion, Michael, to South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut? Do you want to go first, because I've talked for a bit? Yeah.
All right, so mainly the plot. The plot doesn't really exist, and that it's just a bunch of nonsense. There's nothing. I mean, if you're invested in this plot, you probably need to get your head checked. The themes are okay. I mean, they exist. The main problems with them, I think, are that, number one, I mean, if you agree with them completely, then obviously you're going to have a great time. But the main thing is that it doesn't really explore the themes, and when it does, a lot of the time it is a bit on the nose in many places. And obviously, when you've got, like I said, I mean, like we've already said, the beginning of censorship being the rise of Satan and the start of the apocalypse, it's not particularly subtle. And ultimately, you're left with, and the music's fine. I mean, I don't know, it's catchy. You're ultimately left with the humour, and for me, I'm pretty much going to judge this film entirely on humour. I'm going to ignore pretty much everything else and just say that it was serviceable comically. I mean, there were laughs. There weren't as many laughs as I would expect in a film, a feature-length comedic film. I mean, for example, Simpsons is well past it, but I'm pretty sure I laughed more times at the Simpsons movie, and would even still if I haven't seen a Simpsons movie in a long time. But I feel like if I watched a Simpsons movie, just to pick an obvious kind of similar example of a animated TV sitcom film, I think I laughed a couple times at that, and I probably would still. This I didn't. I laughed twice. There were a lot of times I thought, but I actually only really laughed twice. Obviously, if you watch this with people, you're going to laugh more. For me, based on the humour, I have to put this in the 6 territory, which is still, I mean, it's a positive rating, which is exactly what I knew I would give it, but it's not. It's fantastic. I'm going to put it between Captain America: The First Avenger and A Quiet Place. So that's, South Park between... A Quiet Place is higher. But Captain America: First Avenger is lower. So there we go.
Okay, yeah, so I'll say the biggest compliment I have for this movie is that it is funny. I do find it quite funny, so obviously that is a plus in a comedy, but in terms of everything else, like the plot and the themes, like you said before, it's not particularly clever. It's definitely not nuanced and not subtle either, but I guess that's what they're going for. They're going for that because they just want to have a point of view, and they want to just, put it in your face and say, this is what we think. And again, it does lend itself to being funny as well, more often than not, because obviously that you can be ridiculous about certain situations, and that obviously can create humour. So yeah, I guess, it's not nuanced, but whatever. I think it seems like they did put in effort in terms of the music and the humour. And like I said before, the fact that it is 2 people just making this movie, it's clearly something that they cared a lot about, so that would make sense. And yeah, I think overall you get what you expect. There's nothing surprising about this if you've seen an episode of South Park. You do get what you what you come for, and so the fans will be happy about that, I guess. But yeah, for people like myself who don't particularly like South Park but have seen a bunch of episodes, it's like, yeah, I liked it. It was fine. Won't go out of my way to watch it again, but it's not bad. And so you landed on 6 out of 10. And I would agree with that, Michael. I'm going to give it also a 6 out of 10. At the end of the day, it is what it is. So
it is what it is.
It is what it is. 6 out of 10 positive rating, but yeah, nothing better than that. What have we got next week, Michael?
We've got Batman and Batman Returns.
No, we're just doing Batman, I thought.
Oh, I thought I asked you if you wanted to do Batman Returns and you said yes.
I said no.
Really? Okay, maybe I just ignored you.
Yeah, I think you did. I think there's enough to talk about with just Batman.
That's fine. All right, we're doing Batman 89.
Yeah, 1989. And why are we doing it, Michael?
We're doing it because, why would we be doing Batman 89? I know why. The Joker.
And 30-year anniversary.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I think that too. But yeah.
Both of those.
Joker. Yeah. So, of course, because as Jack Nicholson as the Joker, the one true Joker.
Yes, so join us for that. Next week, we have been selecting and reflecting on South Park, Bigger, Longer and Uncut because of its 20-year anniversary. And also, do you know it's coming to Netflix, Michael?
No.
Yeah, it is. It's coming to Netflix. So you can watch all of those great episodes which we just criticised.
Watch Stanley's Cup.
Yes, on Netflix. So, who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening and join us next week for Batman. Goodbye.
Goodbye.